talking. We have a pretty interesting situation going on today, which is why we have to wear these nifty little headphones and be in a private room. There have been a lot of pretty serious illnesses going around, and considering that we are a medical facility and we know that a lot of our patients are very sensitive, we have been conducting all of our new patient paperwork and any sort of tests or trials or anything. If you have to see the doctor, everything's being done in sort of almost a solitary, isolated nature so that each patient is not exposed to any other patient. So you and I are going to keep a little bit of a distance while we do our paperwork, and we're also going to keep our voices down and just try to have things be as calming and soothing as possible, since we are in such a hectic environment. We're just trying to keep the entire area just a little bit more comforting than your usual run-of-the-mill office. So I hope that you do find this pleasing. There is a capability to have a little bit of soft music going in the background if that's something that you're interested in. You can just use your little, there's a little remote there, yeah. All that I ask is that you bear with me while we go through this paperwork, and it is a little extensive since this is your first time here, but it shouldn't be anything that's difficult to answer, and if it is, that's completely fine. There are plenty of times that I go into doctor's appointments and don't know something about my family history that they ask me, or maybe don't have an exact dosage for a prescription. So there's plenty of things that we can always add in later or remedy, modify in some way as necessary, so there's no pressure whatsoever. There's also some hand sanitizer, tissues, and gloves and masks here on the table, so in the event that you find yourself feeling like you need to freshen up a little bit, please go ahead and do that as we're working. It's not going to offend me whatsoever. So we are getting you, today is, today we're on the 24th of January, and it looks like we're set to have you come back in February. Is that correct? Does that sound right? Do you think you can still attend that February appointment as far as you can see right now? Okay, yeah, I understand. That's part of the reason why we try to be open on Saturdays, is a lot of people do work your regular Monday through Friday type job, and Saturdays are really good for some people. So I'm hoping that will be something you can still attend. In the event that it's not, of course, just call us and let us know. We're not one of those offices that charges you for appointments missed, or if you have a last minute cancellation. We understand that things happen, and we hope that you're as dedicated to being helped as we are to helping you, so that's completely up to you. Today, another thing that's going to be a little strange is I'm going to be typing some information into the computer, and some of it I'm going to be writing out by hand because the doctors prefer to have certain things on separate charts. So a lot of the information about patient history, for example, is something that they like in writing so that they can easily reference it while they're with you in a future appointment, or like I said, if something needs to be added or modified, that's something that they can go ahead and discuss with you personally, privately, and they can make those adjustments as necessary. But general information, such as your name, date of birth, things that we're sure are probably aren't going to change unless you decide to change your name. It happens. We're just going to type those into the computer. So I have here a list of questions. I know that sometimes people make you fill this out yourself, but I find, or we find here, that can be a little daunting, and honestly there's no reason why we can't do it for you. So are you ready to go ahead and get started? Did you have any questions for me before we begin? Yeah, as far as how long it should take, it just depends on the rate at which we can discuss and identify the answers to most of these questions. Usually it doesn't take people more than 20 minutes or so, and I also leave a large chunk of time as needed or at the end, so that you can really state the purpose of why you're here. I know that a lot of times people choose doctors because their reviews say that they will sit and listen to you and care about what you're going through, and that starts with us. All of our receptionists are bound by the same HIPAA privacy acts as any of our doctors, and we're not allowed to and do not discuss any of the information that you share with us. If there are some things that you prefer only to tell the doctor, again, they have the paper chart, and that's part of the reason for it. So you can tell me whatever you do or do not feel comfortable sharing. It's completely up to you, and the purpose of me being able to write that down as well would be so that I could brief the doctor ahead of time about anything you seem particularly concerned about, so that if there's anything they want to be thinking about or any literature that they'd like to bring into the appointment that they think might help you, they'll have it already, and that helps us get patients in and out quicker. Okay, great. Well, let's start now with your first name, and if you hear me making additional noises on the keyboard, don't worry, I'm not butchering what you're telling me. There's input fields here that I have to sort of space through as we're going. So, okay. And your last name, please. Thank you for spelling that. I know that sometimes they sound easy and other times they're tricky. Okay, let's see. Okay, and your date of birth, you can give me the full birth month, day, and year, please. Okay, great. Let's see what else we can do here. Great, okay. Now we're going to do your address, and if you could first give me the number and street name, and whether it's Circle, Avenue, whatever. Okay. Okay. And do you have an apartment or a suite number with that? Okay. And then we'll do city, state, and postal code. Can you repeat the postal code, please? Okay. Okay. And do you have a permanent method of contact, as in so far as a phone, telephone number? If you don't have one personally, it could be someone that you know is reliable that will get a message to you as well, that you feel comfortable. We don't disclose any information in telephone messages, but they would know that you were getting a call from this office. We will identify the office. Okay? Oh, good. Okay. That's the area code. Okay. Okay, great. And is that a cellular phone, a home phone? Okay. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm just looking at some notes as we go along to make sure that there's no additional questions that I need to be asking. So let's see what's next. The gender you identify as. Okay, and your social security number. Good for you. A lot of people don't know that off the top of their head. What is your preferred language that you'd like to speak while working with the doctor? Yes, we do actually. We have a doctor that speaks French and another one that speaks Spanish and one that has some German. He can usually translate pretty well, but might not be able to always reply in German, but we do have that option for multilingual. Okay. Great. Okay, and then do you have an email address that you'd like to give us? You don't have to. I frequently do not provide my email address when asked. I get tired of getting emails, but we will send you an email reminder instead of a text message, for example, if you'd like. Yeah, we do that about a week in advance, and there are links within the email so that if you feel like you can no longer make the appointment, you can go ahead and hit a button that will automatically cancel, or you can hit a button that will have us call you, and as soon as we can, and we can reschedule for you. So I prefer the email system that we have, but some people just don't enjoy giving out their emails. Okay, totally understand. Okay, do you have your driver's license on you? Okay, yeah, take your time. Okay, thank you very much. I'm just going to put in here. Okay, here you go. Great. And then this part I'm going to mark on the physical chart, just because these things are important identifiers, I think. What's your ethnicity? And race? And marital status, are you married, single, divorced, separated, widowed, or do you have a life partner? Okay, great. Pen running out of ink here. That's alright. I've got another. Okay. And as far as your contact information, what's your preferred, and by this I mean the difference between if it's a telephone, text, or telephone call. Some people screen or don't pick up unfamiliar numbers, so we can leave a message, or you can opt for us to never leave a message if that's not something that you feel comfortable with. Okay, great. And do you have a primary care provider or someone who referred you to us? Okay. And did you bring a list of the medications that you're on and the dosage of those? Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna put this aside and I'll make a copy of it before you leave. Okay, let's talk about medication and any food allergies. So, medication allergies, or food allergies, or pet allergies, anything that you've ever known to have some sort of reaction to. Sorry, we have to write down everything, whether or not it's a yes or a no. Okay, and then let's talk about, just move my keyboard here. Okay. Any conditions that you might have that you know of? So, allergies we just discussed. What about anemia? Right, low iron. Okay. And when was that? Okay. Yeah, it does happen sometimes that different medicines, or when you're going through puberty, or when you change your diet pretty drastically, you can sometimes be anemic and test, having low iron in your blood, and other times it fixes itself, or you change your diet, or you might have taken supplements or something that reverse that. But we still do like to take note of that. Angina. Okay, what about anxiety? Most people who come here do answer positively to this one, so anything that you'd like to share about that later on is perfectly fine. Just right now, I just want to know how you identify as far as conditions go, or anything that you may have been diagnosed with. Arthritis. Okay. Asthma. Okay. Atrial fibrillation. Blood clots. Cancer, and if so, what type? Okay. Coronary artery disease. COPD, emphysema. Crohn's disease. Depression. Diabetes. Gallbladder disease. Have you had your... Okay. Acid reflux. Hepatitis C. Hypertension. Irritable bowel disease. Liver disease. Migraines. Do you ever get migraines, or have you ever? Okay. How about osteoarthritis? Osteoporosis? Renal disease? Seizure disorder? Thyroid disease? And is there anything that I did not mention that is a condition that you suffer from? Okay. Well, let's move on then to surgical history. This will be the procedure and the year. You can tell me. I know that sometimes it's hard to remember what year a surgery may have happened in, so if you're not particularly sure, that's fine. Again, this is the paper chart, so we can modify. Have you ever had an angioplasty? How about an angioplasty with a stent? Appendectomy? Okay. Back surgery. Heart bypass. Carpal tunnel release. Cataract extraction. Colectomy. Colostomy. Gastric bypass. Have you ever had a hernia repaired? Okay. What about a hip replacement? Knee replacement? Okay. What about LASIK eye surgery? Yeah, a lot of people don't think of that as a surgery for some reason. But it's in there. A liver biopsy? Pacemaker? Small bowel resection? Thyroidectomy? Tonsillectomy? Okay. Good. Let's see. Please tell me if you've had any of the following and how recent the exam was, if you remember. Have you had a cardiac stress test? A chest or breast exam? Colonoscopy? A DEXA scan? What about an echocardiogram? I was going to say echio, it sounds cool. Okay, what about an EKG? Do you know when your last eye examination was? Okay. Have you ever had a foot examination? Have you had the influenza vaccine, flu vaccine? Not this year? Do you remember the last time? Okay. Have you ever had a lipid panel? Kind of a series of tests. What about just a physical checkup? Okay. And the tetanus vaccine? Yeah, you do. You get that one sort of in boosters as a child, I know. And then sometimes they have you do something again, follow up around high school and sports and such. Okay. Are you adopted? Okay. So all of these questions are going to be for your biological mother, father, brother and sister if you have any. And if you have multiple brothers or sisters, you can say so when I ask, and I'll add a column for them. So these are going to be diagnoses. If your mother, father, brother, brothers, sister, or sisters have been diagnosed with any of the following things, you can just tell me who. Again, if you don't feel comfortable sharing this information with me, that's fine. You can share it with the doctor. However, I am sworn to Privacy Acts just as your doctor is, so there's nothing that could be said outside of this very secure room about you or your history or your family's history whatsoever. This is all just on the chart for the doctor. Okay. I appreciate you being willing to share. So alcoholism. Okay. Allergies. And again, that could be medicine, environmental, animals. Any sort of allergies. You don't need to specify which. Okay. Alzheimer's. And what about asthma? Blood disease. Have any of them had a heart attack? What about cancer? And this one I do need to know the type. Okay. And what about a stroke? Okay. Depression? What about any developmental delays? As in maybe did not walk, speak, comprehend on a normal, or what's considered normal trajectory as the general population. Okay. And then how about diabetes? Okay. Right. We're continuing with the same thing now. So that would be mother, father, brother, sister, etc. How about eczema? Do any of your family members have a hearing deficiency? High cholesterol? What about high blood pressure? Not sure. Okay. Irritable bowel disease? A general learning disability? Mental illness? TB, tuberculosis? Obesity? Osteoarthritis? Osteoporosis? PVD? Renal disease? Okay, and is there anything I didn't mention that you know that one of your blood relatives suffers from? Okay. Okay. Well, again, this is all amendable. So if you think of anything, or if you go home and ask someone and something you said was inaccurate, or you'd like to add information, just let us know the next time you're here, or if you feel like you'd like to go ahead and get it over with before you forget, or you just don't want to have to worry about it, you can call us. I will be here, and they will send you directly to me, since I'm the one working with you, and we only do one-on-one, which is part of why it's nice that we get to have this little session to get to know each other, because for the duration of your time here as a patient, I'll be the person who is helping you and handling anything to do with your finances and your charts, and any time that the doctor might need someone in the room to help with anything whatsoever, I'll be the one that's there. Great. Okay, so we're getting into your social history. What's your occupation, if you have one? And, do you have children? do you use tobacco, and if you do, is it daily, weekly, or you're a former tobacco user? Yeah, the sheets actually do now have a box for vapor cigarettes. So we used to not have that option, but it's funny how many people vape now. We had to add it. What about alcohol use? Same kind of situation. Do you have a drink daily, weekly, less than that? Formerly you used to drink, but you've completely quit. You never drank. Okay, great. And what about your exercise level? Do you exercise moderately, vigorously, or are you sedentary? Okay. And as far as your sleep pattern goes, have you had any changes recently, or has it been pretty stable? And that doesn't go to say that you might not be sleeping well, it's just, has it been consistent? Okay. How about caffeine usage? First I'll tell you a couple of the things that might be included in this, and then you can tell me the frequency. So this might be chocolate, sodas, particularly dark sodas, but also something like Mountain Dew, any sort of caffeinated tablets, coffee, tea, whether that's cold tea or hot tea. Okay. Great. And are you living with anyone who smokes? Okay, great. So now I just wanted to take a moment. First I'm going to just go back over to my computer here and note the time that we've finished the paper chart at before we start discussing. And first I should ask you, are you interested in talking about some of the things that have been troubling you? Yeah, for example, I know that you had said that you feel like you've been having some dizziness or feeling off balance or a little bit motion sick. Yeah, we can definitely discuss that. Okay. Well, let me just make a little note here. Yeah, for some reason it got really warm here again lately, and the birds and bugs have all been resurfacing, which I don't mind the birds. That one's a little shrill, but usually they make very pretty music outside where we are here at our office. And the bugs, though, I like going a few months without all the insects that we have here. Okay, great. So now that that's done, we can talk a little bit about, or a lot of it, whatever you're feeling like right now, about some of the dizziness that you said you've been experiencing. I'm just going to readjust really quickly if that's okay with you. did you need to help yourself to any of the water, hand sanitizer, anything that we have there? Okay. Yeah, like I said, just whenever you're feeling like it, we understand completely. I understand completely, as a matter of fact. So, okay. So I'm gonna just take some notes while we're talking of the major points and things that sound concerning to me. It will all be recorded, but I'll just put a little notation next to the things that sound particularly troublesome or like they might change your quality of life, especially. So yeah, tell me some about this feeling you've been having. Okay. Do you notice that mainly at a particular point of day, or maybe after you eat, or standing, sitting, laying? Does it matter? Yeah, I know that when something's bothering you, you're not very worried about the pattern. You're more just wanting it to go away. So I completely understand that. But okay. Okay. And what sort of sensation does that result in? Mm-hmm. Oh, that doesn't sound fun at all. No, I understand. I have had trouble with motion sickness my whole life, very extreme, and I can't even ride passenger in someone's car or on the bus or anything. Yeah, I walk a lot. Okay. And about how long does that last for? Okay. But you think maybe that some of the anxiety that you feel from feeling that way sort of extends it? Would you say it amplifies it as well? Hmm. And if they, or have you personally, or have any of your doctors had you on any sort of medication, or tried you on, like maybe something that you take at the moment of incident? So you haven't really found any long-term relief, though. I can understand how that could feel very concerning too, because you've got something that's affecting you multiple times a week, maybe even every day, and there doesn't seem to be any sort of cure, so to say, at the moment. Yeah, it stops your day, doesn't it? It's horrible. I'm really sorry. What about if you are still? If you're sitting or standing still, and right, so in other words, you're not what's moving. Still impacts. What about if an object is being purposefully manipulated in front of you? For example, if you go to the eye doctor and they have you follow their finger, does that disturb your eyes or make you feel sick whatsoever? I completely understand that. And have you informed your eye doctor about that? Yeah, because it sounds unrelated, but there's actually something called, I think it's called eye sickness, and essentially your eyes are moving from object to object too quickly, and when that happens, it causes you to have that feeling of being unbalanced. But I'm not sure, based on all of the things that you're telling me, that that's the particular diagnosis that would fit here. There are a couple things that sound to me maybe a little bit different, but I am going to write that in the chart as a potential problem. And I remember you saying that your eye exam, you're due for one. So that being the case, I might refer you as well to an optometrist that I know of who can check you for the IC and just get that out of the way. Based on your insurance, you'll be covered for that. You know, they'll bill it as like a medical procedure basically, so you don't need to have eye insurance actually for that kind of thing. It's pretty interesting. If you go in and need an eye examination actually, and you tell them you're there because you have watery eyes, they'll bill it as a medical thing, so you can go through normal medical insurance rather than particularly eye insurance, vision. Yeah, sometimes people need to do that. So. Okay, so I've got that noted, that that's a potential issue. But why don't you continue telling me a bit about how this makes you feel, how it affects your everyday, and what the recovery time is like, if there is any, or if it's just something that you sort of have to live the rest of the day feeling and you sleep it off, or... Right. Yeah, so it sounds like that nervousness that arises is really something that, if nothing else, we need to get under control, because it really sounds like it makes it much worse and more elevated, as anxiety usually does. And we really don't want this to be extended any longer than it has to be, especially if it's some sort of just momentary imbalance. Then it can really skew that and make it seem like it's a everyday lifelong problem, when really you might just be holding your breath because you're anxious and just not recognizing that at the moment. That can absolutely make you dizzy, yes. And I'm going to actually enter into our computer system here and see, would you have the chance to come back earlier in February than we have you scheduled for right now? Because I feel like it would benefit you to try to get this taken care of, at least if you don't feel like you can come back here soon enough. We could get you in at the optometrist maybe. Yeah, you can always book an appointment, and if you go home and you see on your calendar that it's not going to work out, you can just call me back. Yeah, like I said, it's honestly not a problem, and I'm going to be working with you for the extent of however long you're being taken care of here, and so It's not putting me out whatsoever for you to make an appointment, cancel, change it around. We have people doing it all the time, so sometimes slots open up last minute and we can give you a call and let you know. Yeah, I have, let's see, right now you're in for the 18th. And it looks like my optometrist has an appointment available on the 4th actually, which would be, today's the 24th. So that would be not this Saturday, but the following. Yeah, anytime in the late morning and early afternoon. Yeah, there actually is availability as well that evening. Let me see. Yeah, she has a couple hours available that evening as well. So in the event that you're not feeling well or you don't have a ride, I'm not sure whether or not they'll need to dilate your eyes. Is that something that concerns you? Yeah, I'm the same way. We actually do have a little recovery room. Well, they're individual, yeah. Yeah, because you can, if you do need to get your eyes dilated, not only will we slowly walk you through it and make sure that you're completely comfortable before we go through with it. We have a room that has a nice, really, really comfortable sort of sofa and television, and it'll be hard to watch the television, but we also have relaxing noises and little soundscapes and things that you can use to fall asleep. And if you take a nap for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, or longer if you'd like, it's completely up to you. You can just sort of wear the dilation out of your system enough that you'd be able to drive yourself so you don't have to worry about being sick. Okay? Yeah, so like I said, Saturday it's pretty open for, she doesn't have anything in the morning. That's okay? Okay. And again, in the event that you go home and you see on your schedule that there's something that's going to be a conflict, you can just let me know. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we go? Oh yeah, it was lovely to get to know you as well, and I hope I've made you comfortable, and I hope I've made it very clear that I'm really here to help, and all of our staff here has unique situations that they've been through or things that they're dealing with. I can't divulge their information to you. They can if they'd like to, but we've all had our share of injuries, illnesses, things that we're still dealing with. So we really, that's one of the things I really love about working here, is that everyone employed is also, we're not patients here per se, but we're also patients, and we're also dealing with the same sorts of things that our patients are dealing with. And that being the case, we have a huge respect for the process, and we're very dedicated and interested in helping you and making you feel comfortable, because we know how it feels to be where you are. We're like that every day, and that's one of the things that I find very special about this particular place, and why I choose to work here, is because we try to do it the right way and the way that we would want to be treated. do it for us then today, and I'll send a little message to the optometrist as well and let her know what's going on, what to look for. Okay, great. Well, again, it was really nice meeting you. If you need anything at all, feel free to call or send me an email, any sort of message. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can, and I'm not going to forget you or anything like that. So, yeah. And again, feel free to take a moment after I leave. You can sit here for a little bit if you'd like to and regather yourself and your belongings. And yep, you can take a water. Definitely. Okay. Well then, it was really nice to see you, and I will see you again soon.